One of the things that's super important for me is getting a good night's sleep. In fact, a lot of times if I don't get a good night's sleep, I'm going to go back to sleep. I try to get up at, you know, try to go to bed at a certain hour and get up at a certain hour, and I try to keep those rhythms. But if I wake up or I wake up too early, I'm like, man, it's probably better that I try to go back to sleep. And so sometimes in order to do that, I'll listen to a podcast or I'll turn on some music. I might even turn on like a really low level like TV show and leave it on in the background just for some murmur to help me kind of like get myself to go back to sleep. Because I find if I've got a full night's sleep, like I feel unstoppable. I feel energized and settled. And for me, being settled and centered every day to do what I do, it is, at least for me, it's important. And so, um, and I believe that there are certain things that affect my sleep, and it's everything from even my caffeine intake. Like I've stopped drinking a lot of overly caffeinated, consuming caffeine in the afternoon or evening because I don't want that to affect my sleep. Also, napping. I love me a nap. In fact, I've got a couch right over there. I could go take a nap on right now, but I don't. One of the reasons is because I don't want that to affect my sleep later, right? The other thing is getting. I try to exercise every day, whether it's walking, going to the gym. I've also got weights here at home that I could work out with, and 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 also doing things like other things like expressing gratitude, having daily rhythms every day, little simple things like taking a shower, meals, like just having a really good, um, not a schedule so much. I also like to be spontaneous too when I can. But getting rest is really important. It affects your whole day, and it affects, at least for me, it affects my day. It affects my mindset, and my roles that I have in my company and the things that I do. I need to be or should be confident and thinking about others all day. And in order to do that, I need to be the best version of myself that I could be, right? At least that's my take on all this. And so sleep is critical. Also, I learned that your digestive system plays an important part of your sleep. You can't go to sleep if you got an upset stomach. Also, you can't sleep all the way through the night if you got an upset stomach, right? And so digestion, um, and that was everything from like, you know, cutting myself off from eating things too late in the evening, and and also watching how much fluids I'm drinking at night because at my age, I'm going to have to get up and use the restroom at least once, most nights, right? And but digestion was a critical part of it. So, exercise, rhythms, routines, you know, digestion, and then also for me, I sleep better when it's cold, and so I keep my room temperature really cold. In fact, in the wintertime, I close the vent, I cover the vent, and I have a ceiling fan on because I want that room a certain temperature. And then, so, body temperature is important. And I say all that to say is like one thing I learned is that sleep is a gift to myself, rest is a gift. Um, and then I think the other thing too is having an evening schedule, even if I'm at home and I don't have a lot going on that evening, having um, routine of like, what does an evening uh, wind down schedule look like? Um, and it's a lot of the things that we would do when we're raising children. We're raising children, it's like, they did school and they had sports and did when they're little, they had like schedules and you kept them on that schedule. As they got older, you fought to keep them on some sort of schedule. As young adults, they've got to figure out their own schedule, right? And it's not too different as when well, I'm a self-employed solopreneur with a team. I work from home, and I've got the ability to make my own schedule for sure, but I've also got the ability to make my life a complete mess sometimes. And so part of this, um, just this podcast is me talking about all these rhythms and how I figured all that out. Um, but I was talking about sleep today and how the importance of that. And then I've also learned what happens to me when I'm sleep deprived. At times I get insomnia, and being sleep deprived, um, you know, nobody gets the benefit of, like, nobody benefits when they get sleep deprived Jim, right? Nobody wants to be around sleep deprived Jim, including me. And people that are in my life, they know what it's like when I'm sleep deprived. So if I want to show up and be fully me, I need to be rested. I remember talking to my oldest son, Stuart, at one point. He was out on tour one summer, and they were out doing a small tour in some different states and stuff. And he said that, one of the critical things about being able to perform was to be getting a good night's rest. And I think that's critical of if you're a performer of any kind, and if you're a leader of any kind, rest is key. Um, and then I have a morning routine where I get up and I make a cup of coffee, and I come in here into the office and I open up all the windows and the shades and everything and set my lighting, and then I kind of do my morning rhythms where I write every day, which like includes like uh, a devotional, through the Bible, and that I'm going through. I've been going through it for 4 years, so I'm journaling through that, and that includes, even prayer is included in that, and that's like a it's like a really quick, short, concise meditation every day. And then I'm updating my income every day, my income, what's coming in, what's going out, my expenses, what do clients look like. Like, it's almost like I can look at my forecast every day for my business and my personal income and kind of know where things are at. And then the other part of that is that I try to go for a walk every day, unless it's raining. Then I'll go to the gym and walk on the indoor track or on a treadmill and work out. But if it's not too cold, I will go for a walk a couple of times a day just to stretch legs, get some air. And then if I don't leave the house and I don't go to the gym, I've got dumbbells here on the floor of my office, and I'll do a workout with those. So I basically call it the four W's. I've got riding, walking, weights, and then the fourth thing in there is work. And working is, something I've been doing my whole life. I was raised in a blue collar family where the work ethic was just part of life. And it's a gift. It's sometimes it's a blessing to have that knowledge and that kind of um, thing in your bloodline, and that in your family DNA or its core values of sorts, is really good to have that kind of work ethic. At times, though, it could be detrimental if you don't use it the right way. What I didn't see was I didn't always see like what rest looked like. Like, how do we rest and how do we take time off and how do we celebrate things? And so I've had to learn to include that in some of my company culture and in my personal life as well. What are the boundaries that I need to have good rest? Because I know how to work hard for sure, but also need to take care of myself. So there's the four things every day. It's writing. Yes, the four W's. It's writing, walking, weights, and working. And there's some other things I do too every day. Also break my day into pieces. I try to have a morning, an afternoon, and then an evening. I do work late sometimes because I find that inspiration comes. A lot of times I'm working on personal projects, things that aren't business related. Like, I might want to write a short story, and in order to do that, I'm going to need to have more time. Now what I'm doing is I'm including things like making content every day into my schedule. Well, I can't be on the phone and making content at the same time, so I've got to set boundaries and say, hey, I'm going to be making content during this time today, and so I almost schedule that. I set that as a meeting. or time. I just schedule in my calendar as like allocated time for things. I get a lot of inspiration from the shower. So taking a shower every day, going for a walk every day helps. Doing really simple things like cleaning, different things like help me get ideas. Even yesterday, I went to the grocery store and caught up on some grocery shopping because I just needed a few things. A quick trip to the grocery store sometimes like helps. Like just you know, having a life is really important. I had a friend of mine recently say that, he's like, your defer, your deferred thing when you don't know what to do with life is to work. And I had to learn how to change that. And so some of this is just like me talking about, really basic things like sleep and how do I manage my life and how do I manage my work life and how do I prioritize things. And but if you want to talk about any of this, you can leave a comment. You could also go to my website, grayartistservices.com, and click on contact us and leave me a note. You can also leave me a note. Go to Instagram and send me a direct message, Jim Gray Online. That's JIMGRAY online. And love to connect with you. Please subscribe here. This is a brand new project where I just wanted a chance to like share who I am. And, um, I've already been helping people. um, every time I meet with somebody and I tell them how I think or what I do, or I get on a podcast, I get people go, "Man, I heard you on this podcast," or I've made so many friends through podcasting and through storytelling and connecting and making content, and it's super fun. I also learned that I'm not as it's not that I'm not I'm introverted, but I'm also extroverted when I need to be. But I'm also not I don't feel the need to be super social at times. And so it doesn't mean I'm not friendly, but it just means that like I don't have that extra urge to always be around people. I like having people around. I definitely at times get lonely because I've, been really focused, but that doesn't mean that I enjoy it. So I've had to learn to balance that, right? But I hope this episode helps you. I'm just keeping these kind of short for now and seeing where it goes, and also be cutting this into other clips that you'll find around and hope you have a great day wherever you find this.